Racy pictures have come to light, causing a big controversy in a congressional race. They show the young woman candidate dressed in a risqué costume at a party 6 years ago. We'll talk to her live in just a moment, but now here's Jeremy Hubbard with her story.
My dad named me Krystal Ball, so I know what it's like to be made fun of.
Even with a name like that, this Democratic House candidate couldn't have possibly predicted the uproar over these embarrassing old photos. A conservative blog and then several other sites published the suggestive pictures taken at a party several years ago, showing Ball and her then-husband posing with a sex toy on his nose. A digital trail of youthful indiscretions. It is a new problem for candidates of the Facebook age. But instead of quitting in shame, the 28-year-old is hoping this scandal opens a door for women. In a statement, she wrote, "Society has to accept that women of my generation have sexual lives that are going to leak into the public sphere. This is a reality that has to be faced, or many young women in my generation will not be able to run for office." It is a message that many feminists are embracing. She's become something of a feminist icon.
Women do suffer from a stud versus slut dichotomy, where Scott Brown can run for the United States Senate, and the pictures of him in Cosmopolitan posing nude don't seem to make him disqualified, but women, they're told, oh, that makes you disqualified. Krystal Ball confronted that unfair dichotomy and simply rejected it.
Question is, will voters reject her over the photos?
I think it was poor judgment. You have to know that whatever you do nowadays, somebody's going to see it.
Either way, these photos have exposed a new problem for young office seekers. For Good Morning America, Jeremy Hubbard, ABC News, New York.
And Krystal Ball is here joining us this morning. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me, Deanna.
You call this whole scandal a sexist double standard. Why?
I do, and I think the example of Scott Brown in Massachusetts is the perfect example. He posed nude at the same age in a national magazine, and it was barely a bump in his campaign. These photos came out where I was fully clothed, albeit it was certainly in poor taste, but everybody was overage, etc., and it became the #3 most Googled thing in the entire world. So I do think that there's a different standard applied, and even more than that, though, I think this is an example of exactly the type of politics that people are so frustrated with and so disgusted with, rather than talking about the issues, rather than focusing on solutions to the big challenges we're facing. We're trying to destroy each other personally, and it's just not helpful in our society.
And yet you seem to take this as a platform of your own. Why not just come out and say that these were pictures taken when you were young and move forward with your own political ticket items and things that you'd like to talk about, as opposed to these photos themselves?
Yeah, which is actually what we've tried to do. And I made the decision that it wasn't just about this particular race in the 1st District of Virginia. There are going to be a lot of other young people stepping up to run who have some photos that they're maybe not that proud of in their past. And I wanted to make sure that I came out and said, you know what, if you have some stupid photos in your past, it's okay. You can still run for office. You can take this thing head on. So that was my concern going in. I personally believe we need people from my generation to step up and run for office. And the last thing that I wanted to see is for some stupid photos from the past to derail people's ambitions to run for office and to serve.
And when these photos came out, you said that you thought of Hillary Clinton.
Why? I did, and certainly I am not comparing myself to Hillary Clinton at all, but she was such a role model for me growing up. I was about 15 years old when everything went down with her and the president in the 90s, and I just remember looking at her and thinking, what an incredible, strong, courageous woman. So when I was faced with this, what was a very difficult situation for me personally, and I really just wanted to sort of go into a corner and hide, I drew on her example as a model of strength and courage, and that kind of gave me the ability to come out and take this head on.
And who do you think released these pictures? Do you think this was a personal attack or a political attack?
It was definitely a political attack. I have no idea who released the pictures. It had to have been someone who was at that party. They weren't posted online or anything like that. So in that way, it was very hurtful because it had to have been someone who knew me personally.
And regardless of what happens, you're right now 20 points behind your opponent right now. What are you going to tell your little daughter about this incident when she's old enough to talk about it?
You know, I'm going to tell her to certainly to be careful what she does in front of a camera, but not to be ashamed. We all make mistakes in our life, and not to let it keep her from pursuing the things she wants to pursue and serving the country in the way that she wants to.
Lastly, we have to ask you about your name, Krystal Ball. Where did that come about? And is that your given name?
That is, my parents actually did that to me. My dad actually named me. I have two older sisters, totally normal names, and my mother named them. My dad was a PhD physicist. He did his dissertation on crystals, and they just liked the name.
Krystal Ball, you know, sometimes normal isn't always great. Coming from a Biana Golodriga, definitely not a normal name myself. We wish you all the best. Thank you for
very
coming
much.
in this morning.
Thank you.